What's up guys, this is Anime Crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was the Red Flash Part 1. If you did enjoy this video, give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 1. Introduction. Central City is home to Star Labs, one of the world's most advanced scientific research facilities. Star Labs exclusively hired the brightest and most advanced minds in engineering, physics, and biology. The facility, overseen by the brilliant Drive Harrison Wells, was a fortress for the scientific elite. Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki were two of the scientists involved. Minato was the son of two Okinawan Japanese citizens who emigrated to the East Coast before he was born. He was 100% Japanese American. Kushina was the daughter of a prominent Japanese family and grew up in Japan before traveling to the United States for college, where she met Minato. He was a physicist and engineer, and she was a biologist, and the two created a strong bond that could withstand anything. They soon met Drive Wells and collaborated with him on numerous projects once he migrated to Central City and founded Star Labs. Minato and Kushina were the first employees hired by Dr. Wells when he began research in projects, thus they relocated to Central City. Despite her family's wishes, Kushina remained in the United States with her spouse. Soon after, their son, Naruto Namikaze, and the family's pet fox, Kurama, arrived. Except for his birthmarks, which resembled whiskers on his cheeks, Naruto was a carbon copy of his father.
Naruto had his father's appearance but his mother's disposition, and he was the family's little delight. Naruto adored his parents and desired to make them proud, which was not a problem given that he was extremely intelligent and inherited their intelligence genes. He breezed through high school and graduated with a full ride to Hudson University in Central City to study theoretical physics. He intended to follow in his parents' footsteps.
Tragically, Naruto's parents were murdered in a vehicle accident during his senior year of college. Naruto sank into a profound despair when they died. He dropped out of school just before graduating and vanished off the radar. The death of his parents was difficult, and he didn't know what to do, until fate provided a solution. Line break XXXXX. Beginning of canon and 1 year after Naruto's parents' deaths. Today was the big day in Central City. The particle accelerator will be turned on. The entire city was buzzing with incoming news crews and people eager to witness what may be the event of the century. It was a nerdy dream come true for one Barry Allen. It was simply another day in Central City for Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto Namikaze changed a year after his parents died. He dropped out of school, went home, gathered his and his parents' possessions, and lost interest in science. Naruto had been staying at the municipal shelter since his parents' deaths, working in the kitchen to generate money, and they had given him and Kurama a modest room.
Naruto was still reeling from the loss of his parents a year later. He finished his duties for the day and went for a walk around town. He was dressed in pants, a black shirt, a red button-up, and his father's orange jacket.
He looked around and noticed the television crews on their way to Star Labs. Naruto had to agree that it was intriguing, but he lost interest in it after his parents died. Naruto took a long stroll to clear his mind, and he ended up on the outskirts of Central City. As he walked to the city limits of Central City, night fell. Naruto knew it would take an eternity to walk back, and there was a car garage further down the road where he could hail a cab.
Naruto continued walking as rain began to fall, so he pulled up his hoodie and ran for protection. He had just arrived at the gas station when he heard a boom. When he turned back, he saw a bright orange light flare up in the heart of the city, followed by a massive energy wave.
"Hey, kid, get inside, it's not safe," yelled the garage owner, prompting Naruto to scurry over for protection as he gazed up towards the sky. He noticed a gigantic orange cloud forming over the city and lightning crackling before a massive bolt of lightning struck somewhere in the metropolis. Then Naruto held his breath as another bolt of lightning struck him straight in the face. He was thrown back by the power and landed on the ground. His clothes and shoes were charred, and dark orange electricity seemed to run through his body. When the garage owner observed what had happened, he ran over to check on him. He summoned an ambulance from the nearby hospital to have him examined. XXXXX. Line break. Things have changed 9 months after the Star Lab particle accelerator disaster. Naruto awoke in a modest hospital outside of Tokyo. He had been in a coma for 9 months after being struck by lightning when the particle accelerator exploded. Naruto wondered why he was still alive after hearing that. A lightning bolt should have killed him. But he felt terrific. He was perfectly fine. His respiration had not changed and he felt fine. His muscles did not atrophy, but were constantly regenerating, which is how he awoke with a six-pack and more defined body muscle. Naruto was released from the hospital after a few more hours of observation to ensure that the doctors found nothing more wrong with him. He took a cab back to the city shelter, where Kurama was waiting for him. Kurama was overjoyed to see Naruto alive. Tsunade, the owner of the city shelter, was relieved that Naruto was still alive. He was a wonderful kid and she liked him. "Thank goodness you're okay, Naruto," Tsunade murmured as the two hugged. "Thank you, Granny Tsunade," Naruto said as she smacked him on the head. "Take it easy, Naruto. Just because you awoke from a coma doesn't mean I won't hurt you," Tsunade said. "Alright, do you think you can get me something to eat?" Naruto inquired. Tsunade replied, "Sure, I've got a nice pot of ramen waiting." "Awesome," cried Naruto. Tsunade was taken aback as they entered. Naruto was fine after eating almost 40 bowls of ramen without pausing. He ate around 12 bowls in one sitting before getting sick, but he ate 40 bowls like it was nothing. Tsunade remarked, "Wow, you must have been hungry."
"Yeah, did you think I was going to eat that crappy hospital food?" laughed Naruto as he finished his last dish. "Ah, that was really good. I'm glad," Tsunade remarked, "because now you can do the dishes. I've got some errands to run, do you mind?"
"No," Naruto told her, "I can do it. I'm glad you're okay, Naruto," Tsunade remarked. "Thank you, Granny," Naruto said as she walked away. Naruto stood up and emptied his bowl into the sink. He then noticed Kurama enter and sat on a chair to observe him. "Sorry, buddy, wait a little longer and then I'll take you on a walk," Naruto remarked, and Kurama yipped. Naruto was washing dishes as usual, scouring the pot with his sponge before placing the clean bowls on the drying rack. Unfortunately, there were so many bowls that the rack became overcrowded. Naruto unintentionally struck the rack, forcing 3 bowls to fall to the floor. And then the strangest thing happened. Time seemed to slow down, as if someone had pressed the slow-mo button. He observed the bowls fall to the ground. Very slowly. Everything around him was going slowly, but he was still moving quickly, so he grabbed the 3 falling dishes and placed them on the counter.
After then, Naruto froze in place as everything seemed to revert to normal. Is that what just happened? Did he simply manage time, or did he move really quickly? When he noticed his hands moving so quickly they were a blur, he put the kitchen sponge aside. "What the hell is going on with me?" Naruto exclaimed. He took a step back and in the blink of an eye, he had crossed the kitchen. Naruto then looked at the remaining dishes and dashed over to them, finishing them in 3 seconds. When he had an idea, Naruto exclaimed, "Whoa!" He moved outside the shelter to the rear alley, followed by Kurama. Naruto set out running, quickly transitioning from normal speed to super speed, becoming a blur. He ran for 20 blocks before coming to a halt in another alley. "Cool," Naruto remarked as he sprinted back and arrived in front of Kurama in a blur. "Oh, Kurama, something incredible just happened to me. That lightning bolt transformed me into a freaking road runner," Naruto said, recalling the Looney Tunes character. Naruto suddenly smelled burning rubber and noticed his shoes were smoking. Ah, Naruto stomped about, rapidly putting out the fire. "Alright, there's one disadvantage. Friction and rubber don't really mix, but why did the lightning bolt change me when other people who were struck didn't get these abilities?" Naruto pondered for a moment. He then noticed an old newspaper in the trash. He lifted it up and found that it covered the ongoing reconstruction and particle accelerator damage. The particle accelerator. Perhaps my parents' old notes have some answers. "Come on, boy," Naruto said as he and Kurama proceeded to his room to look through his parents' writings.
Naruto entered his room and took out the box containing his parents' notes from their work on assisting Dr. Wells with the particle accelerator before they died. Naruto took a deep breath and opened it, revealing some old papers as well as his father's old goggles, which he worn when conducting research. Imagine Naruto's anime goggles. "Wow, Dad. I've always liked these," Naruto replied as he removed them and hung them around his neck. "Alright, let's get some answers." Naruto took out his parents' notebooks and read through them, learning about their difficulties and tribulations, as well as their speculations regarding the particle accelerator and what it could lead to. Advances in medicine, technology, physics. The particle accelerator had the potential to open the door to a completely new worldview. Naruto got nothing after a couple more hours of poring over notes. His parents' belongings didn't get him any closer to learning more about the particle accelerator. Kurama then yipped, drawing Naruto's attention to an old portrait of his parents with Dr. Wells, the brains behind the particle accelerator. "Dr. Wells? Maybe he can help me out. Good job, boy, Naruto replied as he patted Kurama on the head. But then he looked at the clock and realized that it was 10 p.m. Well, it may be a little late, but I'll see him tomorrow. He tired and went to bed, unaware that a fight was taking place near the outskirts of Central City between someone who could manipulate the weather and someone very similar to Naruto. A speedy XXXXX line break. Naruto awoke the next morning feeling both refreshed and hungry. He woke up, showered, and dressed, which led to his new problem. Breakfast. Tsunade would murder Naruto if he ate as much as he did yesterday, so he walked to the kitchen. Naruto prepared a bowl of ramen before grabbing his money and going out to eat. He went by Big Belly Burger on his way to Star Labs and ordered roughly 10 servings, which he devoured with relish and would keep him going for a while. He walked to Star Labs rather than risking being noticed by someone or slamming into a structure. Naruto arrived at Star Labs after about a half-hour stroll. Naruto noticed that it had been sanctioned and that parts of the building were being repaired. He stepped up to the main entrance, past the gates. He rang the doorbell and entered. Hello. Dr. Wells? It's Naruto Namikaze. I don't know if you remember me, but you should remember my parents. I would like to talk, Naruto said. Dr. Wells was speaking with his assistants Drive Caitlin Snow, Cisco Ramon, and Barry Allen within Star Labs. Dr. Wells, Caitlin, and Cisco worked together to learn more about Barry's unique abilities once he awoke from his coma. Barry discovered last night that he wasn't the only one affected by the particle accelerator, and that the accelerator explosion propagated throughout the city, potentially harming hundreds of others. Following the revelation, Barry resolved to use his powers to aid in the capture of the new metahumans who posed a threat to the city, and he planned to do so with the assistance of a new suit provided by Cisco. Unfortunately, there are still some disagreements among the members, since Barry has been utilizing his abilities to help preserve the city, while Caitlin claims they decided to focus on metahumans. Have you both lost your minds? Who do you think you are? Caitlin interrogated Barry and Cisco. Cisco responded, well, I'm the eyes and ears, and he's the feet. This isn't funny. You could have killed yourself. You can't be running around the city like some supersonic fireman, Caitlin cautioned. Why not? This is what we discussed, me using my speed for good, Barry added. We talked about you helping us contain other people who may have been affected by the particle accelerator explosion, metahumans, and we haven't found any other than Clyde Martin, Caitlin explained. There are still people in this city who need help, and I can help them, Barry stated. Cisco added, we can help them. Will you say something? Caitlin inquired of Dr. Wells. I think what Caitlin is saying in her own spectacular angry way is that we are just beginning to understand what your body is capable of, Mr. Allen, and I caution restraint, Dr. Wells remarked. Dr. Wells, I doubt restraint got you to where you are today, Barry observed. I'm in a wheelchair and a pariah. Lack of restraint is what made me these things, Dr. Wells said. Caitlin advised him, don't expect me to patch you up every time you break something. Hey, are you alright? The sensors in your suit sent back some strange telemetry, like your vitals spiked for a few seconds, Cisco said to Barry. When his phone rang, Barry said, never felt better. Joe wanted him at a crime scene, so Barry sped away. But didn't alter. When do you think he'll realize he didn't bring his clothes? Dr. Wells inquired as the computer powered down. What's going on?
Someone walked in the front entrance. Hang on, I'll bring up the camera footage. Cisco brought up the security footage from the main entrance camera feed, and they observed a young man standing there.
Hello. Dr. Wells. It's Naruto Namikaze. I don't know if you remember me, but you should remember my parents. I would like to talk. They heard over the microphone. I don't believe it, Dr. Wells responded, recalling the identity of the boy. Wait, did he say Namikaze? Wondered Cisco. As in Drive Namikaze. He was one of the leading researchers at Star Labs for many years. Minato was a great scientist and a good friend, Dr. Wells said. Yeah, that guy was brilliant and hilarious, Cisco said, but who is this kid? That would be his son, Dr. Wells explained, which astonished Cisco. He and Kushina had been married for years when I worked with them, and Naruto was born before they moved to Central City. He was a brilliant young man, and I would have eventually brought him to Star Labs. But his parents' death hit him hard. I can only imagine, Cisco said. I heard from the other scientists who worked here that they were great people, and I can't imagine how hard it must have hit him. Yes, it was difficult. After their deaths, he went off the grid. I'll go talk to him, Dr. Wells remarked as he rolled out of the lab and towards the front door. Naruto stood in the Star Labs door, staring at one of the framed antique portraits of Dr. Wells and his parents. They were content, and life was much simpler back then. Are we reminiscing, Naruto? Dr. Wells inquired. A little, Dr. Wells. It's good to see you again, Naruto remarked as the two clasped hands. I haven't heard that in a long time, and you can imagine that after the incident, not many people want to meet with me, Dr. Wells noted. Well, that wasn't your fault, Dr. Wells. You couldn't have predicted what would happen, Naruto remarked, as Dr. Wells laughed. Dr. Wells quipped, your father would have said the same thing, but your mother would probably wring my neck for not taking some more safety precautions. Well, my mother was always the more paranoid one, always worried about people's safety, Naruto explained to Dr. Wells. Naruto. I know we never really got to talk after your parents' funeral, but I am sorry to hear about your parents' deaths. They were both great friends who meant a lot to many people, including me, Dr. Wells said. Thank you. I just wish they were still alive, Naruto murmured. I'm sure they'd still be proud of you if they were, Dr. Wells informed him. I doubt it. I dropped out of my fast track in science, and I don't think they'd like that, Naruto said. I think your parents would be proud of you. Regardless, Dr. Wells stated as Naruto grinned. So, what else brings you to Star Labs, or is this just a social visit after 2 years? Actually, it isn't. I was hoping to speak with you about something I believe only you could answer. And what would that be? Dr. Wells inquired as he and Naruto strolled through Star Labs' first floor.
I was going through some of my parents' old notes and I had some questions about a certain project. The particle accelerator, Naruto stated, raising an eyebrow at Dr. Wells.
What interest do you have in the particle accelerator? Dr. Wells inquired. Well, I was wondering if the explosion 9 months ago changed some things around the city, because I've started to notice some interesting things going on in the city. Really, and you think the particle accelerator had something to do with that? Dr. Wells inquired.
Perhaps. I was going through my father's old notes on the project, and he hypothesized that the particle accelerator could lead to some changes in discoveries in science, the foundation and discovery of theoretical elements. Dark energy, antimatter, etc. Maybe the explosion actually changed something, Naruto said as Dr. Wells smiled at him.
I see you still have a scientist in you, Naruto, Dr. Wells replied.
Naruto stated, it's always been there. Well, Naruto, despite our great theories and hunches on the project, the night of the explosion prevents us from figuring out what exactly happened. But I can assure you, there is no great danger to the city, Dr. Wells replied, nodding.
Perhaps not danger, but great change, Naruto answered. I mean, something must have happened that night, the explosion and that energy wave that was sent out. I mean, something must have changed.
Your guess is as good as mine on this one, Naruto, Dr. Wells stated as Naruto nodded.
Thank you anyway, it was nice to see you, Naruto remarked as he walked away as Dr. Wells talked. Are you okay, Naruto? You just seem to have a different energy about yourself than I've seen before, Dr. Wells asked. People change, Doctor. I suppose I did, Naruto remarked as he walked away. Naruto was going across the city after his meeting with Dr. Wells, and he knew Wells wasn't telling him anything. But he'd have to figure it out for himself. On his way back to the shelter, Naruto stopped for a cup of coffee and ate donuts. He was eating his 7th donut when he saw something on TV. Simon Stagg, CEO of Stagg Industries, was honored today for his organ transplant research. Naruto simply shook his head. He recalled what his parents had said to him about Simon Stagg. That person was a skilled scientist, but he had a habit of taking other people's ideas in research. He even tried it with one of his father's creations, but Stagg couldn't figure it out. He then heard police sirens and saw police cars speed past. Naruto was intrigued by what was going on. He finished his donut, dashed into the alley, buttoned up his hood, put on his father's goggles, and sped away, trailed by police cruisers. He ultimately arrived at Stagg Industries and noticed police cars taking witness statements outside. Naruto then removed his hood and goggles, blending in with the crowd. He looked around and heard about a robbery being carried out by 6 individuals wearing ski masks and equipped with firearms. The police believe it was a robbery, but some believe it had something to do with Mr. Stagg, who was a possible target but escaped just in time. He also overheard a police officer talking to a security guard about how he was swept away by something during the heist. Naruto had had enough and left Stagg Industries on his way home. I guess Drive Wells was wrong. Something happened the night the accelerator blew, and it appears that something happened to someone like me, Naruto exclaimed as he headed home. Naruto examined his shoes, noticing that they were slightly worn and the bottoms were scorched. He needed new shoes. Naruto went to a sports store and bought some new running shoes, hoping they would perform better. He returned to the shelter, listened to the news, and sat on his bed with Kurama curled up next to him.
He listened as there were stories of a new red streak appearing in the city and saving lives.
Naruto stood up and glanced at an old photo of himself with his parents taken just a few days before they were murdered. Naruto then smiled as he looked at the goggles on his desk. I guess that lightning bolt changed me into something greater. Something happened that night of the particle accelerator explosion. And I'm going to show the world that it did some good. Like me in this streak. I'm going to show that the explosion led to something amazing, Naruto said, determined to use his new powers to help people. Like the streak. XXXXX line break. Naruto awoke early the next morning, resolved to make his parents proud by using his new powers to aid others. On the night of the explosion, he put on his jacket, draped his goggles around his neck, and went to the local library to do some study. He read newspaper articles about disappearances and deaths, blog entries about unusual behavior, and old weather forecasts from the day of the explosion. Naruto was working on his research and watching the news when a fresh story broke. Someone had been murdered and battered to death outside one of Stag's buildings. Naruto raised an eyebrow. 2 incidences involving Stag. That was no accident. Naruto packed his belongings and planned to conduct some innocent snooping at the police station for a lead. Naruto slipped on his jacket and maintained his goggles on his brow as he dashed to the police station. He then noticed a detective discussing with his partner going to see Stag about the death of his security chief.
Naruto smirked as he followed the car to one of Stag's warehouses and simply stood outside while the investigator entered. Naruto then became hungry and went to get something to eat. Detective Joe West and his partner Detective Eddie Thon were discussing Mr. Stag as a prospective target.
Do you honestly believe someone is attempting to murder me? Stag inquired. Well, we're not sure, Mr. Stag, Thon said, but an event honoring you was robbed at gunpoint. Joe added, and your head of security was found murdered this morning. I am a scientist and philanthropist, and we are frequently the targets of assassins, Stag explained. How about lawsuits? Joe asked. You have about 20 of them pending against you. It's a sad fact of life, Detective, Stag replied, that when you make a lot of money, people who don't have any think they can take yours. People like this guy, for example, Joe explained as he displayed a photograph to Stag. Danton Black. Stag introduced himself as Danton Black. Joe stated, you fired him, and now he's suing you. Unfortunately, our working relationship was not successful, but I can assure you both of one thing. Danton Black is not a killer. He's a clinical researcher, not a criminal mastermind, Stag stated. Then here we are, Stag exclaimed as he turned to see 3 of the robbery's shooters. Joe cried, down, as he and Thon shoved Stag to the ground and took shelter. As the gunman took cover, Joe fired back.
Back with Barry Allen, he was walking inside the police station when he noticed everyone hurrying up and getting suited up. Captain, what's going on? Inquired Barry.
Not right now, Barry. An armed gunman is shooting up Stag Industries, the captain remarked as Barry dashed back to his lab to retrieve his suit. Naruto had just finished his short snack of 10 hamburgers when he noticed a streak running through the city. Naruto assumed it was the mysterious savior, but then remembered the Stag Industries detectives and swiftly followed.
Joe shielded Thon while bringing Stag to safety. Joe was able to shoot one of the gunmen and witnessed the boss remove his disguise, revealing himself to be Danton Black. Danton then began to shiver as he summoned a duplicate of himself, who seized a spare rifle. Joe was stunned as the 3rd gunman removed his mask, revealing another clone. The Danton Blacks marched forward and fired at Joe as he sought shelter, but a streak passed by and seized Black's firearms and hurled them to the ground.
Joe looked up to see Barry dressed in his suit. Go, exclaimed Barry. No, Joe said as Barry led him out of the warehouse. When Naruto arrived and saw the detective whisked outside, he decided to investigate further. Naruto donned his goggles and flew past Joe and into the building. As the door opened and closed, Joe felt a gust of wind hit him. What the hell? Naruto entered the warehouse and found a person in a red suit being kicked out by some guys making replicas of himself. They were beating him up and then throwing him against a bookcase. In anguish, Barry sat up and grasped his side as he noticed the blacks pointing weapons at him. But before they could fire, Barry seen a blur run by and steal their guns. What the hell? Exclaimed Black as the blur reappeared and knocked all the blacks on their asses. Barry was startled and turned to look behind the blur, where he spotted a man with blonde hair wearing an orange and white jacket. One of the blacks sprang up, grabbed a rifle, and fired at the second blur, but he hurried away and returned, knocking Black to the ground. The original Black then sprang up and fled, as Barry ran to collect his breath and relax. Naruto then dashed away from the warehouse as the cops approached. He removed his goggles and smiled. "That was amazing. Man, I need to get a suit like that guy," Naruto exclaimed as he dashed home.
XXXXX line break. Barry then dashed back to Star Labs while Caitlin attended to his scratches and bruises and Cisco examined his suit. As Barry grunted in pain, Caitlin wiped them with an alcohol wipe. "Sorry, the abrasions are already healing quickly," Caitlin explained.
"I got my ass handed to me," Barry admitted. "You got blood on my suit," Cisco stated as he went over it and cleaned it. "I believe some of it belongs to him." Another not-so-friendly metahuman, Barry observed as Dr. Wells displayed the black file on the screen.
Danton Black is a biogeneticist who specializes in therapeutic cloning, which is the process of growing new organs to replace failing ones, Dr. Wells explained.
Caitlin said, "Apparently Stagg stole his research and then fired him." "I saw Black make duplicates of himself," Barry explained. "Huh, that's kind of ironic. The guy specialized in cloning, and now he can make Xeroxes of himself," Cisco observed. "Is he experimenting on himself when he was exposed to the dark matter wave released by the particle accelerator?" Cisco remarked as they glanced at him. "Don't worry, I'll come up with something even cooler." As Caitlin talked, Barry was going away. "Where are you going?" she inquired as Barry turned around. Joe was right. "I'm in way over my head. I'm not a warrior. I couldn't even fight one metahuman, let alone 6. I had to have my ass saved in order to get out of there," Barry remarked, but a question arose. "Saved?" Caitlin inquired. Dr. Wells then noticed Barry's expression change. "Did something else happen at Stagg Industries?" Dr. Wells inquired. "I wasn't the only one struck by lightning on the night of the explosion," Barry explained, perplexed. "There's someone else out there like me. With my powers, he's just as fast, and he took out the clones to give me time to escape," Barry explained after a brief pause. "Was it the man in yellow?" inquired Cisco. "No, it wasn't him, but whoever it is just like me, but he seems to know what he's doing. If you guys want to keep doing this, find him," Barry remarked as he prepared to leave, but Drive Wells interrupted him. "I understand your frustration, Barry. Today was a setback, but every grand enterprise has them, and we can never learn to fly without crashing a few times," Dr. Wells explained. "This wasn't a grand venture. This was a mistake," Barry muttered as he flew away. "Now what?" Cisco inquired after a brief pause in Wells' pondering. "Look at the blood we collected, Caitlin. See if there's anything useful we can learn," Wells stated as Caitlin nodded. "Cisco, look up our scans from the night of the explosion. Let's see if we can figure out who this new streak is," Wells remarked, nodding. Cisco went to a computer when he noticed Wells leave. "Where are you going, Dr. Wells?" inquired Cisco. Wells stated as he walked away, to talk to someone. Naruto returned home quickly and relaxed as he sat on his bed, finishing his dinner of 40 cups of instant ramen. He burped after slurping the last one. "Man, these powers are awesome, but my appetite is getting annoying, not to mention expensive," Naruto muttered, staring at his empty wallet. He sat down as Kurama hopped onto his lap and settled in. "You should have seen me today, Kurama. I ran right in and knocked those clone guys on their buttocks." "It was awesome," Naruto exclaimed as Kurama lay down. "And you should have seen the guy in the red suit. He was the red streak that's been going around the city. I wonder who he is," Naruto exclaimed as he lay on his bed. "But you know what, boy? That guy is going to try again, and the orange flash will be there," Naruto stated as Kurama grumbled. "I don't like the name." Well, I'm not going with the streak, that's lame," Naruto stated as he considered his own name. XXXXX line break. Joe was talking to Simon Stagg about what transpired at the police station and wanted Stagg to be under police protection. "Mr. Stagg, I hope you will consider our offer for protective custody, because Danton Black has proven that he is willing to kill, and he has friends, and trust me, they are all dangerous," Joe added. "I've beefed up my security detective. I hope Black comes looking for trouble, because he'll find plenty," Stagg remarked as they heard clapping and noticed Drive Wells by the elevator. "Spoken like a true philanthropist," Wells said as he entered the room. "Or is it humanitarian? I'm sorry, I can never remember which one you're pretending to be, Simon." "Don't get up, Harrison," Stagg joked. "Ha, ha," Wells said as Stagg walked away. Joe pointed to Stagg and remarked, "Not a fan of yours, Doctor." Wells asked, as Joe agreed, "Can we talk, detective?" "So you were right. Barry isn't the only one who's unique. This guy who tried to kill Simon Stagg today, he could replicate spontaneously. Yeah, we know, Wells interjected. Did you know about Barry? When he was first in his coma, you came to the hospital and asked if you could take him to Star Labs. Did you know what he could do? Joe said, as Wells laughed.
I had a feeling he was affected, Wells stated as Joe Med. Hey, Joe, I never set out to be the senior member of a secret crime fighting unit. You and I both know that we are the only ones equipped to protect Central City, Wells remarked.
Perhaps I'm the only one interested in protecting Barry, but he's all ready to fly right into the fire with you, Joe added. No, he's not. Not anymore, he quit, Wells answered, surprising Joe. He didn't tell you? Joe stated, I haven't seen him. Well, I'm sure it's only temporary. From what I know of Barry, when he sets his mind to something no one can talk him out of it, but the next time he suits up, whoosh, runs headlong into danger, he will fail. Why? He doesn't think he's capable. Doubt is his real enemy, Joe. Not whatever's lurching out there. And as long as you continue to doubt him, he'll keep doubting himself. Wells said as he was leaving. And for the record, I care about him as well, Wells remarked as he walked away. After resigning from the squad, Barry went to the coffee shop where Iris worked. While the three watched the news coverage of the Stag Industries attack, Barry and Iris hung around, with Barry consuming roughly 10 servings of pound cake. I guess you were hungry, Iris replied as she sat down and brought over a cup of water. Stress eating. I came to apologize, and you're right, I've been distant, Barry explained. You're right, Iris responded. As Iris grinned, Barry added, kind of a jerk. You should apologize more often. You're quite sensational about it, Iris said as Barry laughed. So, what were you going to tell me the other day? I thought I had to do something important, but it turns out I'm not very good at it. In fact, another guy was better at the job. But what I am good at is being your friend. So if you need help coming up with a new topic for your article, Barry replied. I already found one. Something that actually interests me, Iris replied as she stood up and walked over to her tablet, followed by Barry. I know it sounds crazy, but it's been all over the internet these past few days. At a building fire, at a bank robbery, even the other night when those robbers shot at the security guard, he said he was whooshed outside. Something out there is saving people, Iris said as Barry noticed she was researching him. I thought you were doing journalism, not science fiction writing, Barry pointed out. Ever since I've known you, you've believed in the impossible. What if you were right? Iris asked as Barry's phone rang and it was from Star Labs. Look, I told you I was done, Barry remarked as he picked up the phone. I know, Catelyn responded, but you need to get to Star Labs right now. When Barry saw Danton Black in the lab, he raced away from Iris and ran to Star Labs, ready to fight. It's okay, Barry, Catelyn remarked as she observed him getting ready to fight. It's not okay. Black is here and he's just standing there. That's not him, is it? Barry said when he noticed Black wasn't moving or blinking. It's one of his replicas, Wells explained. How did you get it? Inquired Barry. Catelyn explained, I grew him. I isolated a drop of Black's blood from your suit to see if I could trigger the in vitro cultivation process and figure out how Black multiplies, Catelyn explained as Barry poked the clone but it didn't move. How come it isn't doing anything? Barry wondered. We did a brain scan, and involuntary motor functions are active, but not much else, Wells explained. We believe it's acting as a receiver, Cisco explained. Without Black, the clones are an empty shell. Shut down the real Black, and you might shut them all down, Catelyn explained. How do we figure out who's the real Danton Black? Barry wondered. Given your own passing out, it occurred to me that Black, like you, has limits. Controlling all of those clones must require a tremendous amount of physical strength, so look for the ones showing signs of weakness or fatigue. He's the prime, Catelyn stated. Just a theory, Wells remarked, but one you might want to put to the test, Mr. Allen. Plus, I made these high-calorie protein bars for you to keep your metabolism going, Cisco said as Barry smiled. The clone then began to move as Catelyn screamed, but it was shot dead with a double tap to the chest as Joe walked in with his gun drawn. Any more of them? Joe inquired. Catelyn replied, nope. Why did it start moving? Barry inquired. Prime. My guess is the Prime is on the move, and this one heard the call to battle, Wells explained. And I know where he was summoned to, Joe explained. Barry advised him, you should call it in. Police can't fight this. What Blacks become? Like Martin, beyond me. Maybe way beyond them as well. The only person it's not beyond is you. You've got to do this. I get it, so for once in your life, do what I tell you to do. Go stop him, Joe stated as Barry nodded and dressed. XXXXX line break Naruto was walking across the city at night, ready to jump into action if something unexpected happened. He expected the gunman to attempt again, but he didn't know where. While going through the city, Naruto heard a buzz like electricity and saw the streak whiz past the street and continue running. "Alright, more action," Naruto exclaimed as he dashed into an alley in an attempt to keep up with the streak. Naruto came to a halt before Stag Industries' main headquarters when he noticed the streak dash in and carry someone away. Naruto crept up to the building and noticed the shooters in the warehouse making more copies of himself while patrolling the premises. "Alright, let's do this," Naruto remarked, putting on his goggles and running inside the building. Naruto raced inside and witnessed the streak rip through the building and knock out the shooters while talking about how Stag stole his research and his wife perished as a result. Naruto then witnessed the streak eliminate the last of the clones, prompting Black to concentrate and create more as dozens spawned and sprinted towards the streak. Before the clones could approach Barry, Naruto noticed a blur knocking down a bunch of clones. Barry turned to find the same man who had helped him from the warehouse. As Naruto fled, Black unleashed dozens more clones on the two speedsters, while Barry attempted to fight but was overrun and encircled. Naruto then rushed back and knocked down the clones one by one as he made his way over to the red streak, but there were so many that one tripped Naruto and caused him to fall to the ground. As some of the clones began to beat up Naruto as he grunted in pain, he and the streak swiftly super raced away, with Naruto being able to head to one of the passageways while Barry super sped to the other major area. "There are far too many of them to fight," Barry explained as he made touch with the others at Star Labs. Wells informed him, "Barry, you need to isolate the Prime." "I can't, it's impossible," Barry explained. "Nothing is impossible, Barry, you taught me that, and you can do it," Joe said. When Barry turned to see an army of black clones approaching, he focused and bolted. "Arg!" Barry cried as he flew towards the clones, knocking them down, punching them away, and sprinting through the army of them in search of the real Danton Black. He pushed through two blacks and saw the genuine Black behind all the clones, straining and sweating as he commanded them all. Barry then tackled Black and chased him up 10 flights of stairs before hitting him into a post and putting him out. Barry smiled as he gathered his breath after seeing the clones had all passed asleep. "Barry? Barry, are you alright?" Joe asked over the comlink. "I'm fine. It's done," Barry responded as he turned around and stepped quickly out of the path of Black as he sprinted past him and jumped out the window. Barry quickly dashed over, grabbed Black before he fell, and tried to bring him back inside. "Hang on."
"No," Black shouted, creating a second hand from the one Barry was holding in order to liberate his hand.
"Don't." Barry screamed as Black broke free and fell. Naruto dashed outside as he noticed Black falling and immediately supersped over to tackle Black out of the air, catching him at the last second. Naruto rolled off the ground when he saw Black get up and hold a gun at his head. "No," shouted Naruto as he pulled the trigger, killing himself. Naruto and Barry froze as they witnessed someone they had just saved commit suicide. As Barry saw the other streak run with an orange and white lightning trail, Naruto looked up and saw the streak, then heard sirens and super accelerated away. XXXXX line break. Barry returned to Star Labs and changed out of his suit. While Barry and the others were watching the news coverage of Black's death, Joe was summoned to Stag Industries, which stated that the employee committed suicide. "I tried to help him," Barry explained.
"It sounds like he didn't want to be saved, and some people can't be put back together when they break," Wells explained.
"Some people heal faster than others," Barry added as Wells nodded.
"I'm hoping so," Wells remarked. "At the very least, Multiplex won't be able to harm anyone else," Cisco stated as they gazed at him. "I told you I came up with a cool name," Cisco chuckled. "You know, I may be the one in the suit doing all the running, but when I'm out there helping people, making a difference, you're all out there with me," Barry stated as they grinned. "Speaking of which, I have some good news," Dr. Wells replied, bringing up a screen that displayed weather activity from the time the particle accelerator erupted. "I pulled up weather data and photos from the night of the particle explosion, and it appears that along with the storm came 2 lightning strikes, one hitting you in your lab and the other. Hit here," Wells remarked, pointing to an image of a parking garage on the outskirts of Central City.
"The lightning strike occurred near the city limits. Is there any way of knowing who was struck during the storm?" Barry inquired. "Not yet," Wells responded, "but I'll cross-reference some data to see if I can find something. Whoever this guy is, I have a feeling he wants to help," Barry stated.
"Time will tell, Mr. Allen, but for now, until we find this person, you are the only lightning man we should trust," Wells stated as Barry bowed and returned to his lab. He flew back to his room at the shelter, plopped on the bed, and put a burger wrapper in the trash, a little late-night nibble before bed. Man, I can't believe that guy still tried to kill himself after I saved him, Naruto muttered as he lay down, and Kurama jumped on the bed and lay next to him. I'll tell you one thing, Kurama. This hero business isn't easy, Naruto replied, looking up at the ceiling. I guess not everyone wants to be saved by a hero, Naruto said as he lay down for the night. After everyone had left, Dr. Wells strolled to one of the hallway walls, touched a switch on his chair, and opened a secret door. He entered the white room, stood up, and removed his spectacles. He then walked up to a console and triggered it, triggering a holographic screen that displayed a newspaper front page from 10 years in the future. Flash leaves when Crisis and Impulse are hospitalized, according to the headline. Dr. Wells beamed as he flashed a picture of the Flash and Impulse.
Dr. Wells stated, everything is going according to plan. XXXXX line break things return to normalcy following the conclusion of Multiplex. Barry and his team were ready to help save the city while also tracking down this new streak that has been assisting Barry, which was the main priority at the time. Dr. Wells, Cisco, and Caitlin attempted to locate the individual who had been struck by the second bolt of lightning, but it proved difficult to identify the person who had been exposed. If this guy was like Barry and there had been no reports until recently, he was most likely in a coma. Unfortunately, Central City General Hospital only had one coma patient, Barry. Dr. Wells explained some leads that the group was following while they were at Star Laboratories. So, we figured that another person was struck by the lightning infused by the particle accelerator, but identifying the person struck has been difficult because Central City General only admitted one coma patient, Dr. Wells explained. Barry stated, me. Exactly. You were the only one hit and admitted to the hospital, so we didn't know if anyone else was hit, Caitlin explained. So now we're looking for other leads. We've sent out requests to local hospitals near where the lightning struck asking about any coma patients admitted about 9 months ago, Cisco remarked as the computer beeped with a message. And it appears that we did, Dr. Wells added. One of the local hospitals outside of Central City did receive a coma patient the day of the explosion. Who? Caitlin inquired. Unfortunately, without a police warrant or a detective badge, they can't disclose that information, Dr. Wells explained. I've got that covered, Barry remarked as he dashed out of there and to the police station to speak with Joe. So, why do you need my help? Joe inquired of Barry. To get some patient files from a nearby hospital outside of town, Barry explained. Why do you need some patient's files? Joe inquired. Joe. Someone else was struck by lightning the same night I was, Barry stated, astonished. Do you mean there's someone else like you out there? Joe asked.
Yeah, but he was treated at another hospital, which is why Dr. Wells didn't find him, Barry explained.
That would explain something, Joe replied. When Black shot up Stag Industries and you whooshed me out, something else whooshed in, and I'm guessing that's the other person you're talking about. This guy appears to want to help, but we need to figure out who he is, Barry explained. Alright, Joe said, let me get my keys. They're unnecessary, Barry stated as he sped Joe to the hospital. Whoa, Joe exclaimed as Barry laughed. Cool, huh? Barry inquired. Yeah, but I think I'll stick to driving, Joe responded as they entered the hospital and made their way to the main desk. Can I assist you? The nurse inquired. My name is Detective Joe West from the Central City Police Department, and I'm here to get some information on a patient you admitted 9 months ago, Joe explained. Which patient would that be? The nurse asked, pulling up the paperwork on the computer. He was in a coma for 9 months after being struck by lightning, Barry explained. Ah, Naruto. Oh, he was a sweet boy. 1 second, I'll get the file. Can I ask what this is about? He's not in trouble, is he? Inquired the nurse. No, I just wanted to ask him some questions, Joe explained as the nurse took the file from him. The nurse said, here you go. As Joe and Barry walked away, he said, thank you. Joe explained, so our other roadrunner is Naruto Namikaze. What, Namikaze? Barry inquired. That's what it says, Joe confirmed. Because there was a scientist at Star Labs named Minato Namikaze, and I read he worked on the particle accelerator project with Dr. Wells, Barry explained. Perhaps Drive Wells can fill you in. I'll find his known address and see if I can contact his parents, Joe stated as Barry nodded and Super raced away. At the very least, it could have gotten me back to the precinct, Joe stated as he hailed a cab. Dr. Wells, Cisco, and Caitlin were working on various leads and following up on strange leads for probable metahuman sightings when Barry walked in. I got the hospital records. Our coma patient's name is Naruto Namikaze. Barry announced, as Dr. Wells, Caitlin, and Cisco were taken aback. "What's with your shocked expressions?" "Because I know him," Dr. Wells explained. "You do?" Barry inquired. Naruto Namikaze is the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, both of whom were scientists who worked with me over the years and on the particle accelerator. Naruto is their son and was a very promising scientist to be until his parents were killed in a car crash 2 years ago. He took their death very hard, he quit school, and sort of went off the grid. He came to see me a few days ago, asking if the P. "Alright, let's find him and talk to him," Barry remarked after receiving a call from the precinct regarding many homicides involving the Darbinian crime family. "You go to your job, Cisco, Caitlin, and I can handle Naruto," Dr. Wells replied as Barry flew away at breakneck speed. XXXXX line break. The CCPD arrived to a restaurant to find it vacant and 9 dead bodies, all of whom were high-ranking members of the Darbinian crime family. As Joe approached, Barry finished his primary autopsy. "Barry, anything?" Joe inquired. "Signs of histotoxic hypoxia. The cells in their bodies were unable to utilize oxygen, consistent with poison gas exposure," Barry explained. "What kind of poison?" Joe inquired. "I'll need to take a lung sample to narrow it down," Barry remarked as Joe nodded and Thon approached Joe. "The only other exit was bolted from the inside, so they were trapped. I thought someone pumped gas in from the outside, but witnesses said the street was empty," Thon explained. "If it was from the inside, there should have been a canister or container left behind. The gas didn't just come in by itself," Joe explained. "Unless it had a mind of its own," Barry replied as Thon looked at him as if he was insane, but then giggled since it was another of his weird theories. "Eddie, would you mind canvassing again? Someone had to have seen something," Joe asked as Eddie agreed and turned to Barry. "Okay, go ahead and explain."
The boss collapsed near the table. This guy made it 10 feet away, and that guy had the opportunity to fire 3 shots into the window trying to break the glass, but they all started in the same spot, which means they should have all been exposed to the gas at the same time, but it's as if they were targeted one by one. Joe finished Barry's sentence.
"My gut feeling is, if we're going to solve this, we'll need backup," Joe added.
Dr. Wells, Cisco, and Caitlin discovered Naruto's current address, the Central City shelter, in another area of town. They all stepped out of the car and took a look around.
Cisco stated, "Man, he lives here. I guess when your parents are gone and you drop out of school, you don't have many options," Caitlin explained. "Come on, let's find him," Dr. Wells remarked as they walked into the shelter, where they saw a blonde woman with a massive bust conversing with another woman with black hair and carrying a baby pig. "Hello, can we assist you?" inquired the blonde woman. "Yes, my name is Dr. Harrison Wells, and this is Cisco Ramon and Caitlin Snow from Star Labs, and we're here to see one of your residents," Dr. Wells explained. "And who would that be?" inquired the other woman. Dr. Wells said, "Naruto Namikaze." "Ah, you must be the Drive Wells who worked with Naruto's parents," the blonde woman commented. Dr. Wells said, "I am. My name is Tsunade Senju, and this is my home. This is Shizune, my assistant," Tsunade explained. Shizune said, "It's nice to meet you." Tsunade inquired, "So, what do you want with Naruto?" "I just wanted to talk to him," Dr. Wells explained. "I'm surprised that you know who I am." Tsunade stated, "Naruto told me about you." "He did?" Dr. Wells inquired. Tsunade explained, "Not at first, but after some time here and when he finally got comfortable. He talked about his past and his parents, how they worked at Star Labs and how they worked with you on this particle accelerator project. Minato and Kushina were very good people to whom I owe a great deal. And I'm sorry that I couldn't be there for Naruto when he needed me, but I hope to make amends," Dr. Wells added. "Well, let's go check to see if he's in his room," Tsunade stated as he led them through the shelter to Naruto's room. Caitlin inquired, "So, Naruto lives here?" "He does. He came looking for work, so I hired him to help clean up around here, and in exchange he gets paid in a room here," Tsunade explained. "He also assists the children with their homework. He's a very bright young man," Shizune remarked. "That he is," Dr. Wells remarked as Tsunade knocked on Naruto's chamber door. "Naruto? You have visitors," Tsunade stated when there was no response. Tsunade knocked again, but there was still no response, so Tsunade unlocked the door and discovered Naruto was not in his room, but Kurama was. "Oh, who's the cutie?" Caitlin questioned as Kurama approached her and petted himself against her as she petted his head. "That would be Kurama. He was Naruto's family pet, and we've met on more than one occasion," Dr. Wells replied as Kurama strolled over to him and pet the fox's head. "I guess Naruto isn't here," Cisco replied, looking around and seeing Naruto's room. He only had a bed, a dresser, and a desk. They found some old images and snack packages. A lot of snack packages. And then they discovered some old files and worksheets. Dr. Wells went up to the files and discovered that they contained Minato's old worksheets. It appears Naruto attempted to use his father's research to make sense of what was going on, Dr. Wells observed. Tsunade, protective of Naruto, inquired, "What is going on? Why do you people need Naruto?"
"We just want to talk to him about his accident that happened over 9 months ago. If you see him, tell him to come to Star Labs, we'd like to talk," Dr. Wells remarked as they walked away.
XXXXX line break. After Drive Wells, Caitlin, and Cisco left the shelter, they returned to Star Labs, where Joe and Barry awaited them with another metahuman case. A possible metahuman with the ability to control poison gas. "It's fascinating to think about a metahuman who can manipulate poison gas," Dr. Wells stated as he sat down to work on his computer. "Is it just poisonous gas, or can he control all aerated substances?" asked Cisco. "And how is he able to formulate the connection? Is it physiological or psychological?" Caitlin continued. Dr. Wells stated, "This individual can create a mental nexus using gaseous substances." "Do you mean you can connect with gases on a molecular level?" Cisco said. "They get very excited about this stuff," Barry explained to Joe. "The only thing I'm concerned about is locking up this criminal, but Iron Heights isn't exactly equipped to handle metahumans," Joe explained. "Then I guess it's a good thing the ones we've met are no longer with us," Dr. Well replied. "Well, unless we intend to execute every super criminal we apprehend, you geniuses will have to find somewhere else to house them," Joe explained. "A metahuman prison," Cisco exclaimed. Dr. Wells then heard the computer beep and turned on the monitor, revealing Naruto Namikaze riding the elevator. "It appears he got our message," Dr. Wells stated. "That's him?" Barry inquired. Dr. Wells confirmed, "That's him." "Who him?" Joe inquired. Dr. Wells explained, "That is Naruto Namikaze, our second speedster." "Stay here for a moment. I'll get him," Dr. Wells remarked as he walked out of the main lab and to the front door. Naruto stepped out of the elevator to see Drive Wells waiting for him. Dr. Wells stated, "I see you got my message." "Yeah, as soon as I got back to the shelter, they told me, and I made my way over here. You said you had answers for me?" Naruto inquired. "I believe so," Dr. Wells remarked as he walked down the hall, and Naruto followed. "So I was correct. Something happened the night of the particle acceleration explosion," Naruto explained. "Something happened. The night of the explosion, a dimensional barrier opened, releasing unknown elements into our world. Antimatter, dark energy, type 0 elements. Essentially, when the accelerator exploded, the world's definition of normal changed," Dr. Wells explained. "Do you know of any people who were affected by the blast, Dr. Wells?" Naruto inquired. Dr. Wells said, "Yes, we do." Naruto said as they entered the main area of Star Labs, where Naruto noticed all the computers and lab equipment, as well as a red suit in the center. He also noticed 4 other people in the room. "Naruto Namikaze, I'd like to introduce you to Cisco Ramon, Caitlin Snow, Barry Allen, and Detective Joe West. Everyone meet Naruto Namikaze," Dr. Wells remarked as everyone smiled. Naruto said, Hi. Don't worry, Naruto. You're in good company," Dr. Wells remarked. "So, aside from being in one of the most advanced labs in the country, why am I here?" Naruto inquired. "Well, we figured if you were going to keep using your powers to try to help the city, you should do it with someone who might have a little more experience than you," Dr. Wells explained. "Yup." Barry muttered as he sped behind Naruto, and Naruto swiftly spun around. "I've heard you're pretty fast." "No way, you're the streak," Naruto responded. "Yup, and I hear you've been making a name for yourself as well," Barry replied as Naruto smirked and hurried up behind him as Barry turned around. As everyone chuckled, Naruto answered, trying to. Cisco exclaimed, "This is so cool. So, do you guys have any powers as well?" Naruto inquired. "No, we're just here to assist Barry in stopping other dangerous metahumans out there," Dr. Wells explained. "Metahumans?" inquired Naruto. "People like Multiplex, whom you fought just a few days ago," Cisco explained. Naruto was perplexed. "The guy who could duplicate himself, the one who shot up Stag Industries, which you and Barry helped put down," Detective Joe West explained. "Oh, so the CCPD is aware of the explosion and metahumans?" Naruto inquired. "No, the CCPD and the rest of the city have no idea what happened. Just tall tales and rumors at this point, and we'd like to keep it that way, but these metahumans are a serious threat, and the police can't handle them, Joe explained. So you're like a superhero crime-fighting team. Cool, Naruto exclaimed. Basically, we help Barry keep this city safe by assisting him in developing and controlling his powers, and we'd like to help you as well, Naruto, Dr. Wells explained. Really? Be a part of a secret crime-fighting group to bust superpowered villains? I'm in, Naruto joked. Sweet, I get my own sidekick, Barry chuckled as Naruto slipped his arm from his shoulder. Whoa, I'm not your sidekick, Naruto exclaimed as everyone laughed and Naruto examined the computer displays, which revealed copies of police files. So, you guys have another metahuman to find? Yeah, a new strange one. We believe this guy can control poison gas, Caitlin explained. Only poison gas, or can he control other gaseous substances? And does he control the gas by physical or mental means? Naruto said as he approached the computers, and he, Caitlin, Cisco, and Dr. Wells began to discuss the information while Joe gazed at Barry. Looks like he's settling in nicely, Joe observed as Barry laughed. A question. How do you intend to stop this guy? I mean, if this guy can control gas, a regular prison won't be able to keep him locked up, Naruto replied. Well, we'll have to build a prison to house them, Dr. Wells explained. Naruto remarked, cool, a metahuman prison. At least until we figure out how to take away their powers, Dr. Wells explained. There's one place here that might be able to hold them, Cisco explained as Caitlin and Dr. Wells grasped what he meant. You can't be serious, we haven't been down there since. It's closed off, Caitlin replied, becoming tearful. Cisco is correct. It could be modified to function as a makeshift prison, remarked Wells. What could? Barry wondered. The particle accelerator, Dr. Wells replied, recalling that night 9 months ago. XXXXX, flashback, line break 9 months ago. Everyone in Central City was buzzing with the news that the Star Labs particle accelerator will be turned on while Wells gave a lecture to the people who had come to watch it at the labs. Dr. Wells returned to the main lab after his lecture, where Cisco, Caitlin, and a slew of other scientists were busy triple-checking everything to ensure it worked properly. Dr. Wells entered as Cisco approached him. Wells, we just got the weather report, and a big thunderstorm is on its way, Cisco stated.
Well, we're not launching a space shuttle, so we'll be fine, Dr. Wells stated as Cisco moved over to the computer and Caitlin spoke with her fiancé Ronnie Raymond, one of the primary engineers who helped create the particle accelerator.
Tahiti? Ronnie inquired. I know it's a long flight, Ronnie, Caitlin replied, but we can binge-watch Orange is the New Black on the plane. Alright, but what about Italy? Pizza and wine and more pizza, Ronnie said. Yes, but Mai Tais aren't available in Italy, and a honeymoon isn't a honeymoon without them, Caitlin explained. Dr. Wells, the accelerator has been primed and is ready for particle injection, Cisco remarked, as Dr. Wells beamed and the other scientists crowded around him.
Well, I feel like I should say something profound, like one small step for man, but all I can say is that I feel like I've been waiting for this day my entire life, and I couldn't have made it this far without two dear friends and colleagues who are no longer with us. Minato, Kushina, this is for you, Dr. Wells said as he held his hand against the computer as it scanned his fingerprints, recognized him, and activated the accelerator.
That's it? You'd think there'd be a loud bang, Cisco remarked. We'd all be in trouble if there was a loud bang, Ronnie replied. Caitlin responded, take it from the guy who helped build it. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it, Dr. Wells remarked as everyone applauded as Ronnie grinned and kissed Caitlin. As everyone celebrated, Dr. Wells opened a bottle of champagne, but then they heard a strange sound as some of the champagne actually floated out of the bottle and hovered in the air for a few seconds, as if it were in a zero-gravity environment. It then dropped to the ground, followed by an alarm and a loud bang from the accelerator. Was that the loud bang? Ronnie wondered. Line break XXXXX flashback end. Caitlin, did you hear me? I'm going down to the accelerator ring, Dr. Wells remarked, seeing how upset Caitlin was. Actually, Dr. Wells, I could use Caitlin's assistance in identifying the poison gas, Barry explained as Dr. Wells nodded. Dr. Wells answered, okay, if that's okay with you, Barry inquired. Let's go, Caitlin remarked as she stood up, and Dr. Wells approached Naruto. Naruto, Cisco, and I need to do something quickly. Just wait here, and I'll be right back, Dr. Wells replied. Sure, Naruto answered as he lingered. As everyone left the lab, Naruto looked around. He examined Barry's costume on display, examining the material and wondering what it was composed of. He also examined the other lab equipment, including computer displays linked to the Star Lab satellite and medical equipment in one of the rooms. He then went to another room and found a massive treadmill with an observation room. Naruto approached the treadmill and noticed the wires leading to the observation room, followed by a wall of boxes against the far wall. A large treadmill. Why not? Naruto muttered as he removed his jacket, donned his goggles, and stepped onto the treadmill. He didn't see an on button, so he started running. Very slowly at first, but the treadmill seemed to start up, so he kept running. Dr. Wells and Cisco walked into the lab, noticed Naruto was gone, but heard the treadmill running, so they went into the observation room, where they saw Naruto jogging on the treadmill as Dr. Wells turned on the monitors to see how Naruto was doing. Blood pressure and respiratory functions are the same as Barry's, Cisco commented as he noticed the monitors. Yes, and his speed is roughly the same as Barry's, Dr. Wells stated as he turned on the speaker. Naruto, Dr. Wells said as Naruto was shocked and slid, crashing off the treadmill as Cisco and Dr. Wells approached. Oh, that has to hurt, Cisco commented as he and Dr. Wells exited the observation room to assist Naruto. As Naruto sat down and held his wrist, they assisted him to his feet and returned him to the laboratory. Ow, my wrist, Naruto exclaimed as Cisco and Dr. Wells examined him. Looks like a sprain, Cisco replied. Don't worry, if you have Barry's powers, you'll heal quickly as well. Dr. Wells grinned and offered Naruto an energy bar when his hunger growled. Along with your new speed, your metabolism increased, Dr. Wells explained. Yeah, I figured that, Naruto responded. Here, we made these for Barry. High-calorie energy bars to keep your metabolism up. Cisco stated as Naruto ate the energy bar and felt better. Wow, that works, Naruto said as they laughed, and then he noticed his sneakers were worn out. I guess regular shoes won't work with my speed, Naruto muttered as Cisco walked over to another area and returned with some red boots. Use these. They're frictionless boots, so they should be fine with your fast running, Cisco replied as Naruto thanked him. Do you guys have spare goggles? Naruto said, his goggles shattered after falling on the treadmill. Cisco replied, I'll see what I can do. Thank you, Naruto responded as Cisco took them and walked over to the computers while Dr. Wells spoke with him. I'm glad to see you've figured out your powers, Dr. Wells stated. I'm just glad the high metabolism is the only thing I have to worry about, Naruto quipped as Dr. Wells laughed. I'm just glad you developed powers rather than remaining in a coma, Dr. Wells replied. So, Dr. Wells, are you okay with everything? Naruto inquired. What exactly do you mean? Dr. Wells inquired. I mean, all of this meta-humans and capturing bad guys. You and my parents were scientists through and through. Science was your life, Naruto stated, pointing to Star Labs. Was what you and my parents worked for. How do you come back? When everyone you worked with, everything you held dear is gone. Naruto inquired as Dr. Wells paused for a while before turning to face Naruto. By reminding myself that doing nothing or walking away is not an option, I caused all of this to happen. I ruined many lives that night, because of my hubris and ego, and I caused so much pain to so many lives, including my own, Dr. Wells stated as Naruto gazed at the wheelchair. I harmed so many people that night, but now I can try to make amends for what I did. I'm not sure how much I can help the people of this city, but one thing is certain, I can help Barry, and help you. Naruto stated, I just wish my parents were here. I know you miss them, but if they could see you now, they would want you to move on with your life. And they would want you to trust your heart and head and do what you believe is right. Dr. Wells added as Naruto nodded and Cisco called to them. Hey, Naruto. I was looking over your goggles and I discovered something hidden in the strap, Cisco stated as he moved over to Naruto and showed him a little key. A key? Naruto inquired. Yeah, it was tucked behind one of the straps, inserted in the middle of the strap so you wouldn't notice it if you put the goggles on, Cisco explained. Why would my dad put a key in this? Naruto wondered. Dr. Wells explained, because he wanted you to find it. Your father must have left that key for you in case something happened to him. But what exactly does this key unlock? Naruto inquired. I'm not sure, Dr. Wells muttered as he examined the key, and the computer speaker went silent. Cisco, do you read me? Barry asked over the speaker as Cisco approached the computer. Cisco said, yeah, Barry, I read you. There was another mysterious gas attack at the Central City Mall, Barry remarked as Cisco displayed mall plans in the mall security radio system. I patched into the mall's security system, and according to eyewitnesses, the gas attack took place in the main elevator at the North Wing, Cisco explained. Which one is the North Wing? inquired Barry. The one with the big belly burger, Dr. Wells said as Cisco and Naruto gave him strange looks. I eat. Barry sped through the mall, so rapidly that he was a blur to the pedestrians. He saw the dead women and cursed himself for not arriving sooner. He then looked around and noticed green smoke coming out of a door leading to the maintenance entrance, so he went after it. He entered the maintenance corridor to witness the green smoke condense into a human form. Why did you kill that woman? Shouted Barry as the man turned around. She deserved to die. Now run away. I still have one more name on my list, don't make me add you to it, the man said as Barry rushed up and hit him in the face, but he turned to smoke and then re-solidified. As Barry went to his knees, he punched him in the face and then in the stomach. Barry immediately struck at the man's midsection, but he quickly changed to smoke and moved behind him. The smoke then hit Barry in the face and forced its way into his nose and mouth as Barry reacted quickly, trying to breathe. Dr. Wells was anxious as he sank to the earth as the sensors in the suit began to fall. Barry? Barry, can you hear me? Dr. Wells exclaimed over the speaker. His vitals are weak, Dr. Wells, but they're still there. I'm sure he's fine. Naruto stated as a whoosh of air hit the lab and Barry appeared near the computers, mask off and hyperventilating. I can't breathe cough, Barry manages to mumble as his lungs contract. He needs oxygen. Get the crash cart, Dr. Wells yelled, as Cisco dashed to grab it while Naruto loaded him onto the lab cart just as Caitlin arrived. Barry, Caitlin said as she ran in, and Naruto unbuttoned his jacket while Cisco attempted to figure out what was going on in his lungs. Cut me open. The poison's still in me, Barry said. He brought us a sample. Caitlin, we need to do a pulmonary biopsy, extract an active portion of that gas, remarked Drive Wells. I can't give you any anesthetics because your metabolism will burn right through them, Caitlin said to Barry.
Remember, I heal quickly, Barry added. Dr. Wells said, do it.
Hand me the syringe, Cisco, Caitlin remarked as Cisco handed her a syringe with a huge needle. This is going to hurt, a lot. It's a small needle, he won't even feel it, Cisco explained. You're definitely going to feel it, Caitlin stated as she plunged the needle into Barry's chest and he felt excruciating pain. XXXXX line break. Barry quickly regained consciousness and felt intense pain in his chest as he noticed Cisco staring at him. The streak is still alive, Cisco declared. Caitlin stated, you'd be dead if your lung cells didn't regenerate so quickly. Oh, my chest feels like that one time I smoked, Barry muttered as Caitlin glanced at him strangely. Yeah, teen me lived for danger.
This isn't funny, you could have. Barry replied.
Now that we have a sample, we'll get to work analyzing it, figuring out the composition of the poison, and maybe getting a clue to his human identity, Dr. Wells explained.
Or, at the very least, figure out how to keep him from turning into a mist, Cisco remarked, smiling. The Mist, okay, that's his name, end of discussion.
I need to get to the station, Barry explained. Naruto informed him, you should be resting. I need to talk to Joe, Barry stated as he walked away. Barry dressed and returned to the police station, where he found Joe going over some files in his lab. Joe, I had him. The metahuman, we were wrong about him not controlling airborne toxins, he can literally transform himself into poison gas, Barry explained. That's new. The victim was a judge. We're looking through some of her old cases to see if there's a link, Joe explained. It's too late, I should have been quicker, Barry said. Joe urged him, focus on the job, don't think about that right now. You don't want to know what I'm thinking, Barry explained as he approached the windowsill. My dad has been in a 6x8 cell for 14 years for a crime he didn't commit. I couldn't save my mom, but I can save him, Barry added. Didn't I tell you we'd get your father out of jail together? Joe asked.
I don't need your assistance, Joe, I could be in and out of there with him before anyone notices, Barry explained.
Okay, you get him out of there, but now what? He's on the run for the rest of his life, and something tells me he's not as fast as you are, Joe explained. You have no idea what it's like there, Barry added.
You think I don't understand what you're feeling? I've been a cop almost as long as you've been alive, so you should know that putting on that suit doesn't make everybody safe. For everyone you save, there's going to be someone you can't, and the hardest thing you're going to have to face isn't some monster out there with superpowers, it's going to be that feeling of helplessness. When you can't do anything. Some things you can't fight, Barry. Some things you just have to live with, Joe said as he walked away.
He returned to the shelter with Naruto and entered into his room to find Tsunade and Shizune waiting for him. Naruto said, hi. Tsunade spoke out, hey, Naruto, is there something wrong? Naruto inquired.
I'm not sure, but we were hoping you could tell us, Tsunade stated as Naruto gazed at her. You were in a coma for 9 months and when you awoke, you started acting strange, not to mention Dr. Wells from Star Labs seems to have taken an extreme interest in what happened to you, which doesn't normally happen, Shizune explained.
Relax, nothing's going on, Naruto said, knowing he was lying. Tsunade stood up and approached Naruto, saying, You were always a bad liar, Naruto. Seriously, what's going on? We're worried, Tsunade remarked as Naruto noticed how frightened they were. And he didn't feel comfortable keeping this from them. They had to know. Naruto told them, Believe me, it's a long and complicated story.
Tsunade stated as Naruto sat down and decided to tell them the truth, we can keep up. XXXXX line break. Naruto felt refreshed after a solid night's sleep and returned to Star Labs. He dashed to the labs and entered the main labs through the front door. He took the key from his pocket that Cisco had discovered in his father's old goggles the day before. He examined it, wondering what it was for. He then entered the main lab, where he saw Cisco at a table and Dr. Wells at the computers. Morning, Naruto remarked as Dr. Wells and Cisco entered the room. Dr. Wells stated as Cisco approached Naruto, Morning. Hey, fixed your father's goggles, Cisco stated as he handed them to Naruto, who smiled when he realized they were fixed.
Thank you very much, Cisco, Naruto said. No problem. I had some ideas about some changes, so let me know. I've got some great ideas, Cisco stated as Naruto laughed. So, any idea what kind of poison we've got? Naruto inquired.
Almost. The computer is almost finished with the reconstruction and identification of the poison, Dr. Wells stated as he rolled over to Naruto, who was wearing his father's goggles. How are things going for you?
Naruto said, Fine. Dr. Wells inquired, Good. Do you still have that key? Yeah. Did you find out what this unlocks? Naruto inquired.
No, but I think I have an idea, Dr. Wells replied as he and Naruto exited the laboratory. Cisco, keep an eye on the computers and let us know when you're finished, Dr. Wells remarked as Cisco nodded.
Dr. Wells then brought Naruto to an office that Naruto was familiar with. Naruto explained, My dad's office.
Yeah, I figured if he put that key in there, this would be the best place to start looking, Dr. Wells stated, nodding. Naruto then opened the door to reveal a mostly vacant room where his father used to work. Some old boxes and furniture were still there accumulating dust, as Naruto remembered spending a lot of time in this office when he was younger. Wow, it seems like yesterday when my dad used to help me with my homework here, Naruto reflected, recalling sitting in an old chair beside his father's desk. Yes, those were good times, Dr. Wells said, smiling. They glanced about for anything that could assist them. Dr. Wells examined the desk, while Naruto peered around the room. He moved his gaze to the far wall, where he discovered an old photograph of his family outside Star Laboratories when he was younger. Naruto grinned as he remembered the event, but he observed that some dust appeared to seep beneath the photo, which was strange.
Naruto then reached up and removed the photo off the wall, discovering it was hiding a keyhole. Drive Wells. Naruto said as Dr. Wells rolled over to Naruto and noticed the keyhole.
Dr. Wells replied as Naruto grinned, Your father was always a clever person.
Naruto then took out the key, inserted it into the keyhole, and twisted it 90 degrees before hearing a click. Then a section of the bookcase pushed out, and Naruto realized it was a door.
Naruto then opened the bookcase door and entered the room as the light turned on. Naruto noticed computer monitors surrounding the room connected to various machinery, but the main focus of the space was in the center. It was a suit, not a business or party suit, but a lab suit. Naruto noticed a massive dark orange arrow-like streak down the center of the outfit, as well as dark orange gloves and boots, with the rest of the costume being white. He also saw that the suit covered the neck, sections of the head, including the jaw, and sides of the face, including the ears, but left the majority of the face and hair exposed. Naruto strolled around the outfit, getting a better look, and noticed it wasn't made of standard clothing material. What exactly is it? Naruto inquired.
I'm not sure. It could be one of your father's secret projects, Dr. Wells speculated.
Secret projects? Inquired Naruto. If he went to the trouble of hiding the door and key, it was probably for a reason, Dr. Wells stated as Naruto nodded and moved up to one of the laptops. He pressed a button, and the screen switched on, but it stated that a password was required. Naruto paused for a moment before entering his father's birth date, his mother's birth date, and his mother's name, but it was incorrect. Naruto then typed his name, which was correct. Project Control, said Naruto. I've never heard of it, Dr. Wells stated. It says here that this is a prototype environmental suit. It has built-in sensors to monitor the researcher's body for any injuries or exposure to dangerous elements. The suit insulates the body's natural heat in situations dealing with extreme cold and can regulate cooling in situations dealing with extreme heat. The suit is also tear-resistant and friction-proof. My father designed it as the scientist's perfect protection for experiments. Dr. Wells replied as he examined the garment. Interesting. I guess my father had his fill of secrets, Naruto replied, looking at the suit and then at the computers that had tracked its final use.
We all have secrets. Don't tell me you don't keep certain things close to your chest, Dr. Wells said as Naruto laughed. I wonder why my father never told me about this, or why he never tried to use it for other scientists. Naruto wondered aloud. My guess is that he either wanted to keep something for himself or was concerned about how other scientists or people might use it, Dr. Wells explained. As they heard the intercom go off, Naruto remarked, I guess so.
Dr. Wells, the poison gas analysis is complete, Cisco remarked through the speakers as Dr. Wells responded with the speaker in his chair.
Dr. Wells stated as he and Naruto returned to the lab, we're on our way back.
So, what do we have? Naruto inquired. This, Cisco remarked, displaying a 3D molecular image of the poison. HC stands for hydrogen cyanide.
Dr. Wells looked at the photograph and replied, isn't there something else in there as well? Yeah, it was some sort of sedative, Cisco explained. That's strange, Naruto observed as Barry and Caitlin entered, having heard Cisco call to them over the particle accelerator chamber speakers. Look, this is a 3D molecular model of the gas we extracted from your lungs, Cisco stated. Dr. Wells stated, we have identified the toxin. Hydrogen cyanide. Inquired Barry. What's interesting is what's mixed in with the cyanide. A sedative. Dr. Wells added as Barry had an idea.
Of course. Find out if anyone was executed the night of the explosion, Barry urged Caitlin, who accessed the computer.
Why? Naruto inquired. That sedative is given to death row inmates before they go to the gas chamber and breathe in hydrogen cyanide, Barry explained. You're right, Dr. Wells remarked. There was someone executed. Kyle Nimbies, Caitlin remarked, pulling up his paperwork and photograph on the computer. Barry recognized him and exclaimed, that's him.
He was a hitman for the Darbinian crime family, and they turned on him and testified. Judge Teresa Howard presided over his trial, and she sentenced him to death, Caitlin explained. He must have been affected by the particle accelerator while he was being gassed, Naruto explained, which then fused his body with it. Cisco stated, records indicate that the execution was completed.
That's why we didn't find a DNA match. The database only contains information on the living, Barry explained.
Dr. Wells said, right. He said there was one more person on his list. Check the arrest record to see who caught him. That could be his next target, Barry remarked as Caitlin accessed the computer.
Barry. The lead detective. Caitlin remarked as she showed Barry the screen, which revealed Joe. Joe. Barry remarked as he took out his phone and dialed Joe's number. He waited for a response, but Joe did not answer his phone. He attempted 2 more times but received no response, so he contacted the police station. Eddie.
Barry, what's up? Eddie inquired. Hey, do you know where Joe went? He's not answering his phone. Barry inquired.
Joe said, not sure. Eddie, it's critical that I speak with him. I need to know where he went, Barry stated.
He went to Iron Heights, to see your father, Eddie said as Barry went wide-eyed and hung up. Barry, I reverse-engineered an antidote to the toxin. I hope you won't need it, Caitlin stated as she handed him an antidote injector. Barry thanked her before getting dressed and leaving. XXXXX line break. Joe arrived to Iron Heights prison and proceeded through security check-in and registration before being sent to the visiting room, where guests may communicate with family or loved ones via phones and a mirror. Joe stepped in and sat in a booth, and then Henry Allen, Barry's father, strolled in and was perplexed as to why Joe was there. As Joe picked up the other phone, he sat down and removed the phone from the wall. What are you doing here? Henry inquired. Is Barry all right? Joe stated, he's fine. Then to what do I owe this visit? Henry inquired. Joe admitted, I know I should have come to see you sooner. You just weren't up for a little chit-chat with the man who murdered his wife in front of his own son. Henry inquired, as Joe became serious. Except now I know you didn't murder your wife, Joe added, as Henry looked surprised and listened. Some new evidence has come to light. I can't go into detail, it's just that, look, the important thing is, I'm reopening the case. I'm going to figure out who killed Nora, and I promise you, Henry, I'm going to get you out of here. I am so sorry.
It doesn't matter if you didn't believe in me, because you always believed in my son, Henry stated as the two old friends began to mend their relationship.
Henry then noticed the guard in the chamber surrounded by green smoke after hearing some wind rustling and the guard choking. Joe turned to see the guard choke, gasping for air and attempting to breathe, but he couldn't and died on the ground. Joe stood up and moved over to the guard, while Henry stood up to have a closer look.
Then, in front of Joe, green vapor gathered and solidified to reveal Nimbus, and Joe recognized him.
Nimbus, you're supposed to be dead, Joe asked, surprised. So are you, Nimbus replied as he changed to gas and blew some into Joe's mouth and nose, causing him to choke and hyperventilate as he attempted but couldn't breathe. As Henry yelled for aid, Joe collapsed to the ground and began to convulse.
Joe, help guards, help, Henry yelled as green smoke billowed from the ventilation system. Henry continued to watch as Joe shook when he noticed a flash of yellow lightning enter the room and a figure in a red outfit emerge close to Joe. When Barry arrived, he noticed Joe having a seizure. As Joe seemed to settle down, he took out the antidote and injected it into his neck. When Barry looked up, he noticed his father staring at him and Joe. To avoid his father's recognition, he moved his face at breakneck speed, vibrating it so that his face was obscured. As Joe began to regain awareness, Barry returned his gaze to Joe.
Go get him, Joe said quietly as Barry nodded and walked away. Back at Star Labs, they were keeping an eye on things and noticed that Barry had used the treatment on Joe, the only one. Caitlin explained, he used the antidote on Joe. You must avoid him, Barry, do not breathe him in, she urged through the communicator. What am I supposed to do? Inquired Barry. Just keep him coming at you, that should sap his strength, Caitlin stated as Naruto grew tired of standing on the sidelines and had an idea. But it would require 2 speedsters. Barry, just hold him off for a minute. I've got an idea, Naruto remarked as he took his goggles from the table, and Dr. Wells knew exactly what he was planned. Naruto, wait, Harrison's words were cut off as Naruto rushed away. Naruto dashed to his father's office, grabbed the suit, and dashed as fast as he could to the road leading to Iron Heights while also donning the costume. He unzipped it, strapped it on, pushed the sleeves up, and put on the face part before running through the city in a flurry of orange lightning. Barry dodged and ran away from Nimbus, but there was no smoke cloud to his side. The cloud became more solid and smashed Barry through the air, sending him plummeting to the earth. Barry sighed as he saw the mist approaching him, but he was tackled to the side and saved. He turned to find Naruto wearing a white and orange outfit and goggles.
Just in time, Naruto murmured, helping Barry to his feet.
Yeah, nice suit, Naruto responded, smiling. They noticed the green mist solidifying into Nimbus as he began to breathe heavily. So, what's the game plan?
An old high school experiment. Trap some gas in a vacuum, Naruto said as Barry laughed.
They nodded and sped up to Nimbus, who was exploding in a cloud of green smoke. Naruto and Barry rushed in a circle around Nimbus, creating an air vacuum that would keep Nimbus from smoking out. The vacuum was not allowing his smoke to escape. Nimbus concentrated as hard as he could, straining himself, but his smoke didn't leave the vacuum, and after a minute, Naruto and Barry came to a halt, seeing Nimbus on the ground, unconscious from the vacuum that also sucked up the oxygen.
Nicely done, Barry commented as he patted Naruto on the back.
All in a day's work, Naruto explained. Dr. Wells said over the communicator, nicely done, both of you. Bring him back here, the pipeline is waiting for him. XXXXX line break. Barry rushed Joe to the hospital where they were caring for him after defeating Nimbus and returning him to Star Labs. After about an hour, Joe began to wake up and was greeted by the sight of Barry sleeping in a chair. Barry groaned as he began to wake up and saw Joe looking at him. I haven't seen you sleep in a long time, Joe stated as Barry chuckled and massaged his eyes.
Rescuing you is exhausting, Barry remarked as he rose from his chair. Joe chuckled as he remarked, I really miss being able to ground you.
I'm sorry I grew up, Barry apologized as he shook Joe's hand. I could have gotten my dad out of Iron Heights tonight.
I understand, Joe said, but you were correct. That's not the way, Barry stated. Daddy, they heard as Iris and Eddie entered, and Iris walked up to hug her father.
Hello, baby, don't worry, I'm fine, Joe said. As he walked away, Barry said, I'll let you guys talk.
Back at Star Labs, Dr. Wells, Caitlin, Cisco, and Naruto were standing outside the particle accelerator chamber, still in his suit but with his goggles removed and the face half of his suit down, as they witnessed Nimbus try to smoke out or blast open his new jail cell, but it wasn't working.
Will it hold? Caitlin inquired. The barrier is powered by an 8.3 Tesla superconducting electromagnet, which is about 100 times the strength of the Earth's magnetic field. Cisco stated. In other words, yes. As they glanced at Nimbus, Naruto murmured. He appears agitated. Indeed. As he clicked a button on his wheelchair pad, Wells said. Goodbye. As the accelerator door closed, he said.
So we're just supposed to get used to working in a lab above a makeshift prison containing criminals with superpowers? Caitlin inquired.
You'd be surprised at how much you can get used to, said Dr. Wells. Can things get any weirder? Naruto inquired, coming from the new speedster wearing the outfit. As Naruto glanced at himself, Cisco said. I believe I present well. And it's a good match. Naruto said, patting his shoulder. I like the color scheme a lot. But I'm not sure how I feel about the strange arrow down the center. And there isn't even a mask. Cisco stated. Well, I'm sure when my dad was making this, he didn't think to really conceal his identity. Naruto stated as he put on his goggles. But that's exactly what my goggles are for. He has a point, Caitlin stated. Well, I've got some upgrades and enhancements for you if you want to wear goggles. And I'd like to evaluate the suit so I can create more in case something goes wrong. Cisco stated. Naruto replied, all right. Now, all we need is a name for you. Caitlin explained. Oh, I found it. What about it, Kid Streak? Cisco inquired. No, I am not a child. I'm approximately the same age as Barry. Naruto stated. A couple of years younger. Perhaps the Orange Flash, Caitlin inquired. Naruto responded, unsure. Well, maybe if you hadn't left so abruptly, we could have talked this out. Cisco stated.
Hey, I was just acting on an impulse. Dr. Wells smiled as Naruto spoke.
What about impulse? Dr. Wells inquired. A driving force of momentum. It appeals to me, Naruto stated.
Impulse. Not too shabby. Cisco stated. Okay. You are Naruto, Impulse, Caitlin explained.
Well, at least I got to see Tsunade. I was supposed to return a while ago, Naruto said as he flew away at breakneck speed. After Naruto went, Cisco and Caitlin decided to hang around like old times, while Dr. Wells did some research before leaving. He was in the main room, sipping a glass of scotch and admiring Barry's attire. Flashback XXXXX line break. Dr. Wells was at the computer as everyone else began to escape and clean the area. Dr. Wells had stayed behind to ensure that Cisco and Ronnie had properly ventilated the system. He then received a call from Cisco. Ronnie did it, Dr. Wells. He released the system, Cisco stated. All right, Cisco, I'm making my way down. As he went out of the room, Dr. Wells stated. He strolled along the corridor till he reached the wall.
He tapped a button, and the wall slid open, revealing a dark area. He entered and went to the far wall, where there was a console.
He stepped over to the console and activated it, causing two holographic screens to appear. They were real-time footage from cameras positioned in two different locations. One was at a petrol station on the outskirts of town, while the other was at the police station's CSI lab. Dr. Wells observed as Barry attempted to close the ceiling hatch in his lab and Naruto sought shelter from the storm. Then a flash of lightning filled the sky, followed by two bolts of lightning, one striking Barry and the other Naruto. See you soon, boys, said Dr. Wells. To be continued.
It's it for this podcast. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support and have a great day.